I hope you can all hear me clearly. Just a thumbs up if you can, that would be great. I think we have, yeah, I think we can use the reactions. Thumbs up, you can hear me, it'd be great. Perfect. We're just waiting for people to join, giving them 2 more minutes. So we start depending on where you're from. I'm in Kenya, so it's 5:33. Aiming to start at 5:35. So I also just want to let you know, for the ones already here, this particular discussion is being recorded. So just a pointer to everyone. I mean, it's a great conversation. We want people to listen to, anyone not able to join. Maybe for everyone who has joined, you can just put it in the chats, where you're joining us from. I know we are a very diverse crowd, so just put in the chat, tell us where you are, where you're joining us from. I mean, this opportunity to connect, right? I can see Hadiza is from Rwanda. Who else? We have a couple of people on call. We have about 30 people on the call. Becky from Nairobi, Joan from Rwanda, Gloria from Nairobi. I see. Oh, I see some great representation from Rwanda. Oh, Nigeria has joined the chat. Namibia has joined the chat. That's great. Let's continue. We have more people. Show us who you are. Hello, Mario and Annette from Mombasa, that's from Kenya. Great. Thank you very much. My apologies for the background. Just look at the greenery. Assume we're in a forest somewhere and enjoying nature. I can see Nfisa from Machakos, Kenya. Wow. Alice from Rwanda. Great having all of you here. I'd said we'll start the conversation at 5:35 my time. That's in Kenya. So by way of introduction, my name is Ida, Head of Community and Ecosystems for CC Hub, and it is a delight to have each and every one of you here. And happy International Women's Day to all the women in the chat. Can you please wish each other happy International Women's Day? It's an amazing, amazing day. Yes, let's use emojis. Please, let's celebrate each other. Let's make sure that, we are able to, celebrate. I can't see anything from the chat. You guys are not wishing each other International Women's Day. I mean, isn't that why we're having this conversation on this particular day? I can see her. Yes, please, let's use the chat. That's why it's there. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I see somebody has said Happy Superwoman Day. I like that. Which is amazing. Again, really sorry for the background. So I'll just start quickly. Again, my name is Ida, Head of Community and Ecosystems for City Hub, and amazing to have all of you here. Just a few housekeeping rules before we start. Make sure to use the chat as the conversation is going on. Put your comments in the chats, put your questions in the chat if you want anything to be answered while the conversation is going on. The moderator will be able to just, keep checking out what's going on in the chat and make sure that, every conversation, every question, every concern is being addressed. So I know today we are here on this particular day, very exciting, and we have an amazing array of panelists that I will let the moderator introduce. But for now, one thing that I really, really want to emphasize and show you guys is that as an organization, as CC Hub, we thrive to be a very progressive and inclusive organization. And of course, for all of you who have been able to interact with us before, you've seen that we have a great representation, inclusivity, diversity. Right now, we are in 4 different locations: Kenya, Rwanda, Namibia, Nigeria, and we continue to grow. And it is amazing to have all of you here. So first and foremost, I want to introduce our Managing Director, Oluwaseun, who is going to give us a brief presentation on a paper that we recently published on AI skepticism. I know today we're talking about women in AI, and it is building from that particular publication that we're having this conversation. So Seun, please, the floor is yours. Looking forward to this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ida. Great to have you all here, and happy International Women's Day. It's so exciting to see all the beautiful faces from different parts of the continent. My name is Oluwaseun Adepoju. Correction, I'm a managing partner at Co-Creation Hub. I'll take the next 5 minutes to just take you through a research that we did recently on artificial intelligence skepticism on career domains. And I think it's an important conversation. With all the new frontier technologies, I think when we talk about the excitement that the technology brings, we should also talk about the effect and the impact it's having on different areas of our lives in the society. And I think it's important to continue to have those conversations. As we're excited about these technologies, we should also have other deeper conversations around, will this technology take our jobs away? Will it change our roles as professionals? What are the detrimental aspects of this technology as well? And what are the general advantages that this technology can bring to us? And I think it's also very important that we continue to look at skepticism of any new technology, so that when we are designing policies or we are making our decisions on which part of the technology we are specializing in, we're able to articulate our thoughts better, and we're able to position ourselves for all the opportunities that the technology can bring. So this research was published recently, and it was basically based on a lot of deep sentimental analysis on artificial intelligence knowledge content on the internet. And we did a classification of sentiments across +1 is optimistic, cautiously optimistic is minus plus 0.5, and pessimistic is -1. So at the end of every day, when all the data was put together, we eventually arrived at 0.35. Apologies for the noise coming from here. Okay, it should be calm now. So we eventually arrived at 0.35, which is cautious optimism. The meaning of this is that when you look at the perception of AI in the general society, people are very excited about the technology, but they are also cautious. So they are optimistic about it, but they are also cautious on the different aspects of the in terms of policy, in terms of safety, also in terms of the kind of sandboxes we need to set aside to be able to experiment correctly with this technology. So in terms of societal perception, there's cautious optimism, which I know many of us on the call also share. We are excited about AI, but we also have a lot of questions. We also have a lot of questions that we've not been able to answer, and a lot of concerns that are going unanswered. I want to state this statement from Jodie Cook. She's a co-founder of one of the AI coaching companies. and very big as well. And this is a statement from her. The skills required for AI are rooted in STEM disciplines, and the underrepresentation of women in these fields has a cascading effect on their confidence in using AI tools. Many people have read this statement. Many people have showed their biases towards this statement. But if we look at this statement very well, there is an existing situation around low data on women participating in STEM or going for STEM career, right? And I want to challenge all of us on the call, especially some of our panelists who are working full-time in tech and innovation. We have a lot of responsibility to continue to drive projects, initiatives, and a lot of advocacy to encourage more women to take STEM careers, right? Because the foundation, like this statement, we look at it from all types of biases angle. This statement shows that there's an existing situation of low representation of women in STEM. And today, we are not just talking about AI as a frontier technology that is creating a rave, but also addressing the fundamental skills spectrum industry that will feed a lot of skills from women into the AI ecosystem, and which is STEM. So we have that responsibility to continue to explore avenues to encourage more women, to create more initiatives and projects for girls, to embrace STEM and not to be afraid of anything, because there's no research that has showed, however, whether there's a difference in, technological intellectualism. There's no data that has showed that difference, which means men and women alike have the capacity and the understanding and the wherewithal to take a career in STEM and do it correctly. This is another statement from Lee Chambers. For Lee Chambers, he said, the concern among women that using AI tools may lead to questioning their competence, qualifications, and even the originality of their ideas. He highlighted this, that there's a concern among women that using AI tools may lead to questioning their competence, qualifications, and even the originality of their ideas. This data is originating from the United States, but also if we look at what is happening on the continent of Africa, we may be able to also get a green light for this kind of data as well. Because a lot of people just started using some AI tools recently because they feel their competence is being questioned by using AI tools, which is wrong in itself. I think the opportunity this technology brings for us is to become more efficient, more effective, and to be able to save time and also work perfectly, but also to be able to be more productive as well. So it's not a question of competence. It's not a fear of being judged that we are not competent or we are not using our brains. I think what the opportunity the technology brings is for us to be more productive and to manage our time, to be more effective, and to have quality output of work as well. So in conclusion, artificial intelligence may not necessarily take your job, if you think about it very well, but it may change your role. And this is what this research focused on. The role that AI is coming to play is not necessarily to take your job away if you are a very solid professional, but it may change your role. And what does that mean when a technology changes your role? It means you need to upskill. It means you need to be more open-minded. It also means you need to have a growth mindset towards this technology. So this skepticism, as we celebrate International Women's Day, I think we need to clarify it and say there are fundamental issues we need to deal with, which is more getting more women into STEM, but also to allay our fear of being judged that we are not competent when we begin to embrace AI technology, but also for entrepreneurs and building technological solutions, running on AI technology. Let us embrace it fully. The technology has come to stay. And I want to be a digital prophet to say in the next 5 years, some of the conversations we are having now will make a pointer to the fact that this technology has come to stay. Thank you very much, and wishing you a great celebration. Happy International Women's Day again.
Thank you so much, Sharon. That was quite insightful. I know I have interacted with the publication before. However, I've never heard from that perspective. And something that you've said, and I think it was in the last slide, is that AI may not necessarily take your job, but it may change your role. So I think my biggest takeaway is that let's be open-minded as women. Let's encourage more women to get into tech and also into the STEM ecosystem. So I know, again, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of us have interacted with CC Hub, and why this particular conversation is necessary, and why our managing partner, Sharon, has decided, we encourage that he does this presentation. A lot of the work that we do is research backed. So we have to look at what exactly is happening in the ecosystem, and then now have a conversation on the finding. And now, without further ado, I want to introduce our moderator, Hadiza, who is going to now take the lead in the conversation with our amazing panelists from across the continent. I'm sure most of you have seen it's not just from one place. And we continue to encourage that we want to build a Pan-African ecosystem and have these conversations from a continental point of view and not just from, our home countries. So Hadiza, over to you.
Thank you so much, Aida. Thank you so much, Oluwaseun, for the presentation. It really gave context to what we'll be discussing today. It's such a privilege to be on this panel with women that have broken barriers, women that have made large contribution in their state and in their niche. So CC Hub has given us opportunity today to have panelists from East Africa, from West Africa, and from Southern Africa, which is so awesome. I'll just be calling them for us, and I would allow them to introduce themselves properly. But even before I call them, can we appreciate them? Sincerely, it's such an honor to have them on this panel. Please, let's just appreciate them on the chat. Let's put our hands together for them, use emojis while I call out their names. Please, I want to see the hands coming. Thank you. That would motivate the panelists to really give us what they have, what is in them. So I would, our first panelist from Kenya today is Leonida Mutuku. So Leonida Mutuku is an entrepreneur and an AI researcher. I won't go far. I would allow her to introduce herself when I finish calling out everyone, all the panelists. So our second panelist is from Nigeria, Stella Abimbola Shopeju. I hope I'm mentioning the names correctly. She's the CEO of Fundall. And then we have from Namibia, we have Linda McLeod. And she's a startup and scale consultant of Namibia Investment Promotion and Development. We also have from Rwanda, Pierrette Mastel, who is an AI and an ML researcher. Keep the hands coming, please. Keep the hands coming. Thank you so much. Thank you all for making it today to this wonderful discussion on women in AI. So I think we will start from Leonida. Just give us a brief introduction of yourself, your career background. Just tell us about yourself.
Thanks, Hadiza, for the introduction. As has been mentioned, my name is Leonida, and I'm an entrepreneur and AI researcher. So I work with a couple of organizations. One of them is Intelipro, where I build platforms for business owners and organizations to enable them make sustainable decisions for their businesses using data. And I also work with the Local Development Research Institute, which is a think tank based here in Nairobi, where I lead our AI practice. And my current research right now includes looking at AI for early warning systems, specifically in smallholder agriculture and food systems. I also work to create sustainable machine learning data sets for the future of AI development in Africa. And then finally, I explore a lot about AI governance and specifically how organizations can engage communities on AI and data. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Leonida. Please, Stella, can you introduce yourself briefly? Over to you, Stella.
Okay, thank you, everyone. My name is Stella Abimbola Shopeju. You can call me Abimbola, and it's Shopeju. I'm the CEO of Fundall. Fundall is a fintech. We provide a wide range of financial services. We pride ourselves that we provide solutions that can support all things money. But really, our primary focus is investments, lending, payment solutions, and just helping organizations with their digitization. In terms of my career, it cuts across energy. I worked with the ICT-backed solar company, which is Lumos, telecoms, Airtel. I see a lot of Kenyans on the call. Human capital development, EACB. Worked in sales, customer service, legal. So I'm just really a business person that has transited into technology. My first degree was in business administration, and then subsequently accounting, and then my master's. I'm very passionate about developing women. I'm passionate about breaking stereotypes. I think the easiest way for you to get me to do something is to say that I can't do it, and then I want. So very interesting to be in the tech space, and I'm excited about all that is happening as regards AI. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Abimbola, for that wonderful introduction. Over to you, Linda. Please, can you introduce yourself? Thank you.
Warm greetings to everybody and happy Women's Day or International Women's Day and Superwoman Day. As mentioned, my name is Linda McLeod, and interestingly, my professional career began in the aviation sector as a flight attendant, where I had the opportunity to really develop important soft skills and the appreciation of the world and its diversity. Nowadays, my focus is on entrepreneurship, technology, and innovation through a range of experiences, including exploring forex trading, being scammed through money pyramid schemes and Bitcoin, and then I fell in love with Bitcoin and the technology behind it, and then also contributing to blue tech projects for the startup ecosystem. I've gathered insights that I'm excited to share with all of you. Particularly passionate about uncovering new opportunities and embracing life's adventures. Beyond technology, I also have a strong interest in farming and blending modern approaches with traditional practices. In my current role at NIBDB, the Investment Promotion Development Board, I have the privilege of serving my country by linking Namibia's startup scene with the global arena, aiming to establish it as a hub for undiscovered talents. I'm genuinely thrilled to be here with all of you and eager to engage in enriching discussions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't know if anybody observed, but our panelists, not that all of them are from AI, but we have people from different places, but coming into the tech space and making impact. Over to you, Mastel. Please introduce yourself.
Well, hello everyone, and happy International Women's Day. As mentioned, my name is Mastel Mahoro, and I'm currently doing research in this AI and ML research. I always feel like the title of AI research is such a high level, so I always go slow with that one. But yeah, I'm doing research in that space. I come from a background of a software engineering. I was a software engineer, and then transitioned into the space of machine learning. I actually just last year I finished my master's in applied machine learning, and I'm currently doing research in the NLP research, where we're building like NLP systems for Kirundi, and this is a project that is from the University of Toronto. So we're building NLP systems to preserve low resource languages, African low resource languages in this digital space. Apart from that, I also have great interest in AI for healthcare, AI application for healthcare. So I do research in that space as well. So yeah, and I'm also very interested into capacity building and ensuring that we equip the communities. By communities, I mean mostly communities in the sub-Saharan Africa with the skills they need to advance in AI or machine learning. So I currently lead the Indaba X Rwanda, and also I'm a facilitator at AI Saturdays, and both organizations or both communities have the aim of growing and strengthening the machine learning and AI in Africa. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mastel. Yeah, thank you so much. So Oluwaseun would open us up with the fact that actually this space, the AI space, is beneficial to all, but women are not leveraging this. They are not harnessing this particular area of development. So getting into the conversation, I would like to ask, starting from Leonida, what is your perspective? How do you perceive the current landscape for women in AI?
Thanks, Hadiza, for that. So I'd say maybe as a starting point, and probably later I can share a link to this, it would be really good for all of us to have a look at the Times 100 list that looked at women around the world who are doing AI. I think each of them come at it from different perspectives and not just like coding or actual machine learning, but I think there are different facets to AI. So for me, that was such a good starting point to spotlight that, yes, we are few in the space, but there are women doing things in AI. And then bringing it closer home, I would say that I like to view participation in AI in a couple of different ways. So first and foremost, I think many of us are data subjects, like our data is being utilized to build AI systems. When you start thinking about digital IDs, facial recognition technology, that is your own personal data as a woman being represented in a system. The other way that we participate in AI is, of course, as consumers, so actual users of the resultant AI. And then finally, as developers and designers of AI, so doing more of the technical work. So it was really good to hear the report that was highlighted earlier on. But that being said, I think there are quite a number of initiatives trying to get women into machine learning and data science, which are those core technical skills required for AI. But what I am seeing fewer of is entrepreneurs or business leaders, female business leaders in AI. And definitely I'd love to see women taking up more leadership roles in AI companies. So why is this important? I think when we sit at the helm of design decisions for AI, we are better placed to represent our lived experiences. So then the systems just work for us, as opposed to having maybe a white man in Silicon Valley building the AI system that will actually make decisions about your life. So where I'm seeing a lot of women presence, and I'm very happy, and they are quite vocal voices for that matter, is in AI ethics and policy. And in this space, there are quite a number of notable women, both on the continent and in diaspora, who are pushing for favorable governance and policies around AI. And I think we need to keep on championing their work. Maybe to mention a few, there's Timnit Gebru, there's Dr. Joy Boluwomi. Usually her second name is hard to pronounce. There is, in Kenya, I work with a number of amazing women, such as Dr. Melissa from the Center for IP and Information Technology in Kenya. There is Dr. Rachel working from South Africa. So there are many women doing amazing things. And so I would say we have a good starting point, even as our participation still needs work to be done. Thanks.
Wow, thank you so much. You mentioned that actually women can be part of both the data, the consumers, and even though we are not so much in this space, there are still the few that are in the space are really doing amazing things. They are not just sitting there handicapped, but they are doing amazing things, even better than some of their counterparts, which is so good to hear. So I would love to ask Abimbola, coming from a finance background, not an AI background. What do you think, what's your own perception about the landscape for women in AI right now?
Thank you. So that's it's a good question, especially for someone that is not, primarily from a technology background. So the landscape is currently evolving. There are a lot of strides. You're seeing a lot of people that are like me, that are, gradually moving into the tech space and also becoming a bit more familiar and comfortable with AI. But we can't still, shy away from the fact that this is still a male-dominated space, right? So quite a lot of work needs to happen in terms of promoting that gender diversity and creating opportunities for women to thrive in AI-related roles. And in creating the opportunities, also creating the awareness first, so we know that that awareness that gap is there, and seeing how to close the gap. Now, the number of women in science and engineering roles, it's gradually growing, right? But the underrepresentation is still there. The data from the World Economic Forum, I believe, says that women still account for about 25% of AI specialists, right? And then you still have just about 14% that are working in cloud computing. Engineers are about 20%. So you can see the wide gap. For myself, as an example, I've been trying to recruit, female developers and engineers for a while. For every 10 people you see, you probably find that just one is a lady, right? So that is something that we have to be consciously aware of. Now, some of the factors that contribute to this underrepresentation is really around biases, right? The biases are there, and it starts really from the home front, right? You see it most times, there's a stereotype you have in terms of gender, then there are the attendant issues like the work-life balance issues, how, you have very limited mentorship that is available for women in that space. And then beyond that is when ladies eventually break the barrier and then go into the entry role for these roles, they then find it a bit difficult to progress, in these roles, right? So it's very important that we continue to encourage this progress that we're seeing. We continue to drive initiatives. Organizations need to begin to support and empower women more, along these AI roles. Have role models that are available for people to, what you see is really what you try to model after. Advocacy for, is very, very important. Networking opportunities, very, very important. Campaigns and awareness like we're doing today, very, very important to have that happening. And then gradually when you start having all that, you can begin to find a larger percentage of, women contributing in that space, because we can't underestimate the importance of having that diverse perspective of women in that space. We can't underestimate, what we project to people. So like your graphic designers, even the images that you put out there for AI, are they male, masculine images, are they feminine images? When the conversations are holding, what kind of representation do you have? Are they mainly, gentlemen, or do you have ladies there? So quite a lot of work still needs to be done. But I'm very optimistic that with the right, awareness, with the proper education, with determination and focus, for organizations, entities, and even the governments to encourage women to come into that space, I believe that we'll begin to see an improvement.
Wow, thank you so much. Drawing from what you just said, strategies actually need to be put in place to really make sure that women are aware of this field and begin to engage in it. And from what Leonida also said initially concerning women not being in leadership roles, and especially in areas like AI ethics and policies, a research was conducted by World Economic Forum last year, and it was revealed that women representation in high-level leadership roles have really dropped to 12.4%. So, Linda, in your opinion, what factors do you think contribute to this disparity? And what strategies do you think can be implemented to address this and to improve women's representation in leadership roles, especially those high leadership roles?
Thank you so much, Hadiza, for the question. And I think just to go back on the previous speakers and what they've contributed, I think if we come back to the core problem, and if the reality on the ground for us as Africa, the digital divide in comparison to the West and the East is obviously our reality. Not everybody has access to internet. Not everybody has access to electricity. Our backbone is agriculture. Who are those breadwinners or who's the bread basket? It's the females. Is there connectivity in those rural areas that can basically give them an opportunity to even just contribute with the data sets that we are talking about? That in itself is the reality on the ground. And then we speak about, and I'll go back a bit to where I find myself currently in the startup ecosystem. And it's also what Leonida mentioned, that you don't see finance going into female entrepreneurship. You have a startup, it's driven by a woman, but statistics show that most of the VC funding goes to male. And this is the reality. We're talking about a high position. It's not supposed to be in corporate. AI is so innovation driven and it's so dynamic in the startup space. But if you attend these events, it's again, you find it's male driving those startups. So the question also comes, us as already leading women, how do we encourage those hackathon participants, which are startup female, trying to contribute to climb the ladder? How do we give back as angel investors? How do we propel back? Not for them to position in high potential places or in the corporate world, but just as a startup, just to also break the barrier of creating entrepreneurship and innovation. So to answer that question, I think there are many ways and many solutions, but our reality on the ground is still, how do we bridge the gap of the digital divide in Africa? Another one I also realize is that there are countries in Africa that we can benchmark against, right? How did they position? So let's start by just identifying countries that are already positioning women in those positions. How can we learn from them? How can we have mentor pools to create a safe space for women to actually feel that, look, I can actually speak to anybody on this panel and say that I need assistance or I don't understand. Leonida also made a mention that it's not just about coders and developers. If you create a hackathon, you have the innovator, you need the project manager, you need the designer. So I think that stereotype in itself, that the AI world is just about coders and developers. I myself, I'm not a techie, but I love the technology, I love innovation, but I don't need to code to be part of it, to be a contributor. So just already changing that norm, that it's just for developers or coders, that in itself is just the basics of creating advocacy that anybody can be part of this world. Nobody is an expert, it's emerging every day. Nobody is an expert. So I think it's just to open up and create safe spaces for us to actually encourage each other as women. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We need to identify countries in Africa that have set the pace and use them as benchmark for other countries in Africa to lynch on. I think that was a very great point for me. Also, so Mastel, from your experience moving from software engineering to AI, I'm sure you might have faced a lot of barriers, challenges. Could you please highlight some of these barriers you faced, even from your software engineering, because actually software engineering and AI are kind of related. So what were those challenges that you faced hindering gender diversity and inclusion from software engineering to your transition to AI and even in AI as an AI researcher? I would ask Leonida the same question, but after Mastel give us her experience, we would hear from Leonida.
Okay, so I would say actually that I was one of the lucky ones. I honestly feel like throughout my journey, like things have aligned for me to be able to, it's not really like a big pivot, but to kind of pivot in different careers or different opportunities that I wanted. Like from software engineering, so I was a software engineer for almost like 3 years. And then honestly, I got bored. I felt like I was just doing the same things. And it was like, yeah, there could be like a different bug today, but once you solve it, like there's not that satisfaction. And also I felt like the level of impact of the work that I wanted to do. Like I was not able to do that as a software engineer. And when I decided to like when I got to learn about like the world of data science or like machine learning or whatever, first of all, I got to learn that from a male colleague that I was working with. And granted, on there are things that you face. Of course, it's not like there are completely no challenges. There are things that you face, but the things that I faced, I feel like were minimal. Like, for example, it was like comments I would get, like as a software engineer. One clear example that I remember, this is the only thing that I usually never forget about. So the software engineer, I remember there was this company called Andela. I don't know if many of you know about Andela, but there's this company called, please tell me if you're hearing a lot of noise. You hear a lot of noise? Or you can hear me?
No, we can hear you clearly. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah. So I remember like they have this bootcamp, and during to get into Andela, like it's a very rigorous process. You have to finish those 2 weeks of bootcamp. And I remember this time we were staying at the university where Andela was located, and for that night we had to come after the first week. So we are getting in the last week, and then this is where like you're trying to ensure that you get it. And I remember we stayed at the university, like we stayed overnight at the university, and around 3 a.m. we're tired, we just started talking. So it was just me, I was the only female in the room. And I remember there was this guy who was like, look around. And I was like, okay. I looked around. I was like, what do you see that is different? And like, nothing. I was like, look around again. And I was like, I looked around and I was like, yo, what are you trying to say actually? And I was like, you do realize if you're only female in this room, do you really think you should be here? And still that time, like, I had not had anyone say something like that to me, because like, most of the male that I've had in my life were very supportive. Like, I never really had that challenge. So I was like, wait, how could, like, I knew there were issues like that in the space, but to have someone say that to your face, I was like, whoa, this is. So that's the only thing that I can remember. But as Stella mentioned, like things like that, I don't really consider them as a challenge, but it's not like they kill you. Like the moment like you say that, I was like, you know what, I'm actually going to, like I didn't even, it was more like an opportunity that I wanted to get at that time. But the moment he said it, I was like, you know what? Here, but I'm going to try to get into Andela, and you actually realize that women do belong in these spaces. So it was mostly like comments like that I faced, but the moment I wanted to transition to machine learning, CMU was already in Rwanda. I applied to CMU, I got in. It wasn't, of course, like it's not an easy process, but it's not like there was any specific challenges that were worth mentioning. And through CMU, like the whole environment was very supportive, and I was honest, like every stage of my career so far, I feel like I've been able to have everything that I need in place, which a lot of women cannot say, but I've been able to do that. And what I do instead is to try to identify other women in my community who have the same opportunities and try in any way possible to keep. So yeah, so I'm not sure I was the best person to answer the question, because I've been lucky.
That's so interesting, you know. It's interesting that, yeah, even though you said you didn't pass through any challenge, but somebody had to tell you, look around. But yeah, this is just one instance of many other instances women have to face when they find themselves in this kind of environment where you are like the minor or something like that. Yeah, so Leonida, I would ask you the same question, like share your experience with us on challenges you face as an entrepreneur and as an AI researcher. You shared with us a lot of researches you are conducting. What are the challenges you face that you feel is hindering diversity and inclusion in AI? And also, you can share with us also how this can be addressed. I know you be leaving soon, so you can just help us share this one, and we'll let you go.
I would say I've also been really privileged that since joining the tech space and actually starting as one of you at the iHub many years ago, I used to lead the research arm there. I've had the pleasure, opportunity to work with amazing women who have opened doors for me. My manager, especially when I was at the iHub, was a woman, and she really encouraged me just to bulldoze myself into spaces, opened doors for me, made amazing introductions that enabled me to really ground my career, and actually founded the data science lab within the iHub. But of course, now that once you step out and do entrepreneurship, do research, what I think Mastel has hinted at some of those challenges, you are strongly reminded that you are a woman trying to make it in a male-dominated field. Especially as an entrepreneur, I had all these lofty dreams to fundraise, just the way I was seeing male counterparts fundraising for their businesses. But then, and I remember one specific incident that really put me back in my place was I was trying to close a deal with a client so that we could build a data system for them. And they actually had several conversations, first of all, without me, but with other male directors in my organization. Yet I was the CEO at that point. So I was like, I came to you with this business, but you're more comfortable speaking to my co-directors who do not even understand the technology that we're building. Their work is business development and sales. And on the other side, you're looking at it that when they finally want to talk to me, they want to go out to dinner so that we can, speak about this deal further. And at that point, it felt very uncomfortable because you do not want to compromise yourself just for the deal. So I would say these things happen to you and you're trying to make it in this space, but you realize, one, your clients are male, sometimes your colleagues are male, and that they might not understand your experience and create that environment for you. Now, moving more into the technical side of things, I would say AI development is an extreme sport. So you have to think about the data you're collecting and training your models with. This is really expensive, needs a lot of patience and time to collect the quality data that is representative of the context or the use cases that you want to build a system on. The infrastructure itself, and Linda mentioned some of them: access to electricity, access to the high-powered servers, GPUs, to train these models are very hard to come by. And then the talent itself, there are, as I mentioned earlier, women who are going through all these computer science boot camps, but when they come into the workspace are not finding an opportune environment to work from. There's a lot of what we tend to call tech broism. So not your most very toxic startup cultures that you need to, for you to produce, you have to code overnight, a whole weekend, while women tend to have different circumstances. They have families to go home to and other caregiver activities and so they may not be seen as productive coders if you're looking at the number of lines produced or how much has been contributed to the technology within a period of time. So, to overcome some of these many challenges, I think one, it's been very helpful for me to be in communities of my peers. So I try as much as possible to seek out other women in this space or women who are also struggling either at a leadership level, entrepreneurship level, or technical level, and really have these exchanges and this support system. The other thing is, of course, now being an executive and a senior leader is trying to understand, how do I create a workspace that is conducive for women to actually want to do the work and not to drop off or to move on? Because yes, the pressure will always be there, but what are those small changes we can make to the workspace to ensure that women really do want to do technical work and grow in the space? And also just being a source of inspiration where I can. This is through, given that I don't work in academia per se, but giving guest lectures to young students to mentor them, to show them that, yes, what you're learning in school right now may not make sense, but this is how we are applying it in industry, in business. And this, there are people who have gone ahead of you and are doing the work. They're doing the hard work, so you will not be alone when you move up the ladder. So that's really on us, especially who have moved further along in the field, to open doors and to, drop down our Rapunzel hair so that other women can join us where we are. And then again, similar initiatives such as this event, spotlighting the work that women do in AI, I think is also creates opportunities to promote more diversity, and potentially also thinking very strategically about how you put out calls for applications so that the language is not exclusionary, but actually promotes that, yes, if I read this JD, I can actually work, I can actually do the job. I don't have to feel like I'm an outsider, but that they have highlighted some soft skills within it. They have highlighted, reasonable years of experience. And I think as managers, as leaders, that is on us to promote diversity in our workplaces. Thank you. And yes, unfortunately, I have to leave, but I'm happy to engage with you on LinkedIn and other places. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Leonida. We really appreciate the discussion and the conversation so far. Participants, you could always connect with her on LinkedIn, and the conversation can always go on. It doesn't have to be just here. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so a question comes to mind. Is it that there is really no opportunities for women? Is it that these opportunities are not there, or is it that women are not tapping into the opportunities that are already laid down? Mastel made some comments about she trying to, in her own capacity, help women around her to also come into the space, And Leonida also mentioned some of the ways we can address these challenges of women not being included. Yeah, but there is also the role of organizations and policy makers. I think Leonida also mentioned some of the things that organizations could do in making sure that women are being accommodated, creating that environment where women can be part of without feeling excluded. So Abimbola, as a CEO and with your experience with so many organizations, and I know you have also interfaced with policymakers, can you tell us like steps that organizations and policymakers can take to create a more inclusive environment and opportunities for women to be able to come into in tech industry?
Thank you. Just before I go into that, there's a comment in the section that says that most women are demotivated because there aren't a lot of women in STEM. And, from the paper that Shinwa also presented, it says that the skills required for AI are rooted in STEM, and the underrepresentation of women in these fields is a cascading effect. 1 minute, my daughter just came. So there you have it. That's a true life. You know, you get to see firsthand, you know, what's happening. So I'm working from home today, and my lovely daughter has just come in, so I had to make sure she knows that I'm at the work office. Okay, so you know, so we have to try and first of all understand why do we have a limited pool of people that are coming in, because it's when you have a robust enough pool of people, right? They come into the system, and then you can now start talking about, you know, how do you create the environment for them and all that, right? So I think it's important to, you know, see how we can remove, you know, like we said before, the biases, the stereotypes, ensure we have that pipeline that is there, right? People should not believe that it's just male dominated. We should try and build the confidence. You know, there's this thing about the confidence gap that you have. You know, a lot of people believe that, you know, the masculine people and their male counterparts are able to perform better at work. You know, when we start doing that, encourage women to go into STEM, those are real life things that we can do. Now, once you've done that, we then come to your question where you're saying, you know, how can organizations begin to create more inclusive environments, and how do you have opportunities for women in tech, you know, to do well, right? Part of this is you must see really how do you begin to implement gender diversity initiatives, right? How are you making sure that when women are there, when women are available for jobs? I think it was the last speaker that mentioned that the JDs should be simple enough for people to read, so that when they see the JDs, they know, okay, I have the skills and I'm able to do this job, right? So your recruitment efforts must be targeted. In instances where in your organization you have women that you are aware there's a vacancy internally, and there are women that you know can't fill these positions, but for some reason they're putting in the application. You know, you want looking at those instances and saying, you know what, I believe you can't do this job. Is there any reason why you aren't putting forward your application? You know, when you do that, you begin to do that. You're not saying I'm handing you the job, right, on a platter of gold. They're just giving them the opportunity to even come forward and to be interviewed for the job, for the jobs. Leadership development is very important. You have to make sure that people, even when women fill those roles, they have, you know, like-minded people that they can, you know, speak to, and there's developments available for them by the organization, and not being left to say, okay, you know what, go and figure it out by yourself. Now, the power of having a supportive network and having the right communities cannot be undermined. It's very important for women in tech to know that there are groups that you can go to, there are people you can speak to, there are knowledge sharing sessions, for instance, that women can, you know, be part of. They can have, you know, when you have challenges or whatever it is at work, you know that I can reach out to this person and I will be very comfortable to be able to get support. Something that's an earlier session where I spoke, you know, somebody mentioned that for men after work, they have the luxury, perhaps they can go, you know, to certain places where they can relax and all that. But women, because most people become nurturers after a while, they might not have that luxury, right? Are we still creating opportunities for women to say, even when you have, you know, based on your time, you know, your current situation, you know, or your family structure, you're not able to go out, but do you have those support groups available for you that you can reach out to? I know there's the Anita B org, you know, which is one of the larger gatherings where you have women technology, and that provides the platform and the network for people to network, you know, and have the mentorship. Can we begin to have that, you know, in various states and various countries that we have, so it becomes something that people are comfortable with? The other thing I think was Linda that mentioned that not all roles in technology require you to code, right? There are people that can be graphic designers and all that. So you can create groups like women, you know, who don't constant. There are other roles, there are product management roles, there are graphic designers, you know, there are other things that you can do. There are data analysts, for instance. How do you begin to get, you know, the female folks to be comfortable enough to know that there are other opportunities within the tech space that is really not limited to you coding and all that. The other side is the time, you know, how do you call it now? Tech is very time consuming. Mastel mentioned that most times when you want to code, you're coding at night, you know, and all that. So that in it is something that kind of puts people off, you know, because ladies are thinking, why do I have to do this all through, you know, 20 hours out of 24 hours I'm coding, right? So we have to begin to explain and get people to understand that that in itself should not be, is not the reality of everybody within the tech space, you know, and begin to explore other options of, you know, making them aware of other roles within the STEM space. I think Rwanda has something that is an ICT day that is done, right, where they use that to inspire women and all that. If we can begin to have that done a bit more and have governments of other, you know, countries also, you know, take up those opportunities, I think that would help us in closing the gap. It will get more people interested to come into the space. It will increase the volume of potential pool of candidates that you have, right? And when they come into organization, then you have to make sure that you provide the right environments for them, make sure there's work-life balance, make sure that, you know, the flexibility is there for women that begin to want to go into the parental stage. Do they have parental leave? For women that have young children and men that have young children, do they have the opportunity of having crashes, or they have 1 hour they can use to go and support their children? And then even for those that choose not to have children and all that, do you have, you know, is there work-life balance, right? Do you have sufficient work for everybody to do? And I think those would, you know, over time would help with getting more people into the space and making sure that they can succeed in their roles.
Yeah, I think organizations should begin to bring in all these factors into play when making plans on their job roles and all that. Bringing in all these factors would actually pave way for women because they will be accommodated in so many ways. Yeah, participants, if you have questions, just drop it on the chat. I know our time is going. We'll soon come to you. You will be able to address your questions in time. Yeah, so and then Abimbola, you mentioned, and so many of every of the panelists had mentioned this, that okay, yeah, being in AI being in the tech space does not have to be always the coding part and all that. And also, I remember during Oluwaseun's presentation, he mentioned that women find it difficult to use AI tools because they feel it's not their thing or something. Yeah, so this question goes to everyone. Please, I would love each and every one of us to chip in something, starting from Mastel. How do you think we can leverage emerging technologies, all these AI tools that are coming up? Because we know that these tools do not only help those who are in the tech space, they are tools that everybody could harness, everybody could use, and would make their work more productive, be it entertainment, be it finance. Women in every space can actually leverage on these technologies. How do you think that these technologies can be harnessed to develop opportunities for women in AI, and then also addressing barriers that they may face in their career advancement and skill acquisition?
Okay, so I would actually really like to I forgot his name, but if we could like drop maybe that research in the chat, and then I would love to read it and understand more like why there is that issue. But what I thought about when you say that, I was thinking, is there like correlation between like also if I don't have like enough knowledge about the technology, or maybe like how that technology works, how does it benefit you? Like, does that also affect my interest in that specific technology? Which I think it definitely would. So, for example, like ChatGPT is a huge thing right now. So if I don't know how ChatGPT works, if I don't know exactly like the benefits of using like a tool like ChatGPT, then definitely I will not be interested in using it in the first place, because I don't really know what it's about. Then we can look further, and how do people even come to know about this type of technologies? Is it because of the communities they're in, or maybe the access to information that they have? And from there we can look at the access, the women access to this type of technologies, or even access generally to that type of information. Because if you don't know about it, then definitely you will not use it. If you don't understand how that thing works, definitely you will not use it. If you don't understand, if maybe you know how like it's used, but you don't know the importance of it, then definitely you will not use it. So I think it goes back to that, and I think more effort should be put into like understand like making sure like everyone has the same access and the same exposure to this kind of tools, so that and this goes back, by the way. I feel like this is this is something that actually even research has backed up, that goes to even as early as like when we were kids. So there's this great TED talk and about this lady was talking about how she went into engineering, and how like initially she was struggling, and then there was a lot of research that she had to read about how actually what you're exposed to as a kid also affects what you get interested in as you grow up. So as a kid, you have some parents are changing it, but it's still the same thing. Even if when you go to the supermarket, you see it. So you have the one aisle where you have like dolls and everything pink for like for your girl, for your baby girl, and then you have where you have the tracks and all of that for your baby boy, and then so it's very distinct, and most people have like when you go there, everyone, even all of us, sorry, even some of us might be guilty of that, where it's not like it's something bad, it's just how society has made us think, where you like, oh, you see a truck, you're like, oh, definitely, if maybe you're going to visit your friend who had a boy, you'll be like, oh, the truck will be for the baby boy. If they had a boy, definitely you're going for the truck, and if they had a girl, definitely you're going with the doll, with the like the princess or whatever. It's not like that is something that is bad, but at an early age, like the mom, when you're born as a child, it's not like I am born and then boom.
It looks like we stopped Mastel. Okay, while she gets back her network, okay, she's back. Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, okay.
Sorry, we lost you.
Sorry, I'm connected to my phone actually, and someone just called me. So I was saying, so it all goes back to like even the way that we are raised and the thing that we're exposed to from an early age, and that then affects what we decide to be like when we grow up. So I think more energy. We shouldn't see like a research like that and then just be like, oh, there's definitely root causes of that, and we have to look at how do we raise like young girls to ensure that we don't limit them, and we limit them in terms of opportunities, because that specifically what that research showed is like when the child that is growing up playing with dolls and the child that is growing up playing with trucks and and the Legos and all that, the way their brain develops is completely different. And that feeds into their success when they get into different spaces. Of course, there are exceptions because we know there are women that are doing amazing in engineering and all of that. But also, we have to make sure that we don't, while we are raising women, we don't limit them, and then we predetermine what they have to be and what they have to like. And also, us as women who are in these spaces, we have to ensure that we already have that access. We already know what is going on in this space, and we already know that not all for us, we are privileged. We are able to see together those opportunities. Then how can we ensure that the other women also have that access? I always ensure that to talk to, like, if there's a new technology that came up, I talk to my friends. Granted, most of my friends are in the tech space, but those who aren't also, like, I had a friend, for example, who was an assistant, personal assistant, and I was like, well, you do write a lot of emails, and which was like, yeah, and that is the most tasking thing that I do. And I was like, there's ChatGPT, and I was talking about ChatGPT, and I was like, okay, this is how you can leverage it, and this is how you can ensure to get the most out of your work while leveraging a tool like that. And this is someone who really is not in the tech space in any way. So we can just ensure to expose the different women in our lives, or even in our communities, to these technologies, instead of just But you can just, if you think about it, it perfectly makes sense. But I think more focus should be then what can we do? Like we already know these are the realities that are there. Your question.
We've seen ourselves as females, and this is what can we expose? She said, yeah, we should expose these tools to people, to women, so that they can leverage the importance that it brings. So how do you think that we can make AI tools, make women use this AI tool and help them with wherever they are? It doesn't have to be text-based. Like, how do we do that?
I think I made such a bunch of notes, and I don't think I'll get to everything, but on what Mastel has just said, and I think the childhood thing is really, it's really our reality that once we believe in something, we want to stick to it. But I think it comes back to just bridging that gap between the tech and the non-tech, right? Mastel herself is a coder. She's a techie. She's full-blown techie. How do I then create a reverse mentorship program where I take Mastel and Mastel then teaches me, for instance, within the organization? These are low-hanging fruits, learning from each other, right? I mean, why must I be sending emails and composing emails when there's ChatGPT? But it's that bridging the gap and not working in silos, because I think there are some silos amongst industries and experts, right? Where doctors stick with doctors and lawyers stay with lawyers. So how do you create a place where you can cross-pollinate knowledge and transfer of knowledge? But I think the most important thing is also that countries in Africa, we should start taking a strategic approach to things, right? And we need to do some stock taking of the capacity. We keep on saying that there's a lack of this and there's a lack of that, but have we actually taken stock? Have we actually said that this is a skills gap analysis that we've done in our country? This is the amount of skills that we have, and we can say, okay, we have maybe too much of a pool of project managers. We need maybe more coders and developers. And this can then indicate true policy, and it can influence policy to say that intentionally we can create tax incentives to skill development agencies and say, look, if you create programs for AI, specifically, let's say for women, to increase the quota in NPL or in the language or in machine learning, then you can create a tax bracket on that agency or in that institution, that learning institution. These are but low-hanging fruits, but it needs to start somewhere. It needs to start with a baseline survey of our own backyard. What do I have in our country? How many AI specialists do I have? How many blockchain specialists? How many data science? And then we might just surprise ourselves, because I think we like to say that we lack. But I think it's that we're not coordinated. I think it's that we don't have data from our own backyard to say this is really what we have. And monitoring and evaluation, we need to monitor our efforts. We need to see that the flexibility of school systems, the syllabus, is it flexible enough to quickly change when there's a new technology coming in? Are we teaching our school teachers to adapt easily? Are we equipping them that are teaching the young kids what to believe in and what to dream in, and not necessarily go into the aisle of the trucks and the dolls, but also I want to now go to a virtual reality. I want to do AR. So these are the things. It needs to start somewhere, and it needs to be done strategically, and it takes an holistic approach. It's not one player. It's not one stakeholder's responsibility. It's all of us. It's academia, it's public sector, it's private sector, it's financiers. And very much what's a low-hanging fruit is, why don't we create AI funds? Why don't we create funds that really necessarily just speaks to creating resources and availing resources to people that cannot afford it? The knowledge is there, the talent is there. We are the youngest, Africa is the youngest continent, right? The resources are there, the human resources there. What are we doing as an African? What are we doing to say, this is the resources that we're deliberately going to put aside and to create that talent? So I think at the end of the day, it's creating different pools of talent, whether coders, whether developers, whether AI specialists, technology specialists. And specialization is important because we can have STEM, but can that STEM person actually work in blockchain? Can that person actually work in AI? Can they actually do the work? And I think that's where we do the monitoring and evaluation. And yeah, but that's my contribution. I think I made a lot of notes, and I don't want to repeat what the speakers have already said, and also want to give the audience some time for questions.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was a lot. That was so much. And I hope that we have put things down concerning so much that has been discussed. Before we go to the audience, I see that there are a lot of questions on the chat already, and our time is fast spent. I just want to give us 1 minute each to just give us what advice would you give your 20-year-old self? Abimbola, you can start us off.
My 20-year-old self, you know, perhaps focus more on growth mindsets, be more open to the possibilities. You know, I did accountancy. I hated math, absolutely. I think it was also the stereotypes. And then when I eventually started liking it, I went on to have a first class. You know, perhaps if there was somebody that was an engineer, I might have pivoted to the engineering space, right? So I'll have probably said, you know, focus more with the good mindsets. You know, don't aspire for perfectionism, you know, rather be a bit more, you know, into preparing and giving yourself the ability to celebrate each of your milestones that you hit. You know, love yourself more. And I probably would have loved to have started earlier in terms of, you know, getting other women to be committed to developing themselves and embracing technology a bit better and a bit faster, right? So that would be my short charge to myself, my 20-year-old self.
Wow, thank you so much. Focus on yourself. You don't have to be perfect at the start. You can work on it gradually. Love yourself. So Mastel, what advice would you love to give your 20-year-old self?
I would say this is not just in 20-year-old self, even to be in this person. Right? Is this may sound negative, but it's actually good, but however hard you think it is, it's actually good. So the first 20-year-old needs that in school.
Sorry, Master, I don't know. I can't hear you clearly.
You can't.
Yeah, I think it's same for all of us. Okay, maybe Lida, go ahead so that when she fixes it, we can come back to her.
So I don't know what I'll say to my 20-year-old self more than maybe travel more, explore more. Don't be afraid to fail. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be anxious. It's okay not to know. It's okay to be the youngest in the room. It's okay to wear your hair bushy. It's okay to be the only female in the room, and it's okay to be the odd one out, right? And it's okay not to always agree with everybody else, but just to believe in yourself and trust that what you are doing is just life. It's just a learning curve, that you can make mistakes. But I think most of all, I think networking. I think if there was something that pivoted my life and my journey and my career and accelerated, was to mingle more with people that you look up to. It's to put yourself into circles that are unfamiliar, to go into uncharted territories, and just start a conversation. Yes, I speak a lot, but sometimes it's necessary to also listen. But I think at most I'll just say, 20-year-old self, Linda, it's okay to fail. It's okay to be a bit later in life. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much. Mastel?
I'm not sure this is better. Is it better?
Yeah, I think yeah, it's better.
Okay. So I was going to say, like, I would tell her however hard you think it is actually harder. So, so stay committed. It's not impossible. It's very much achievable, but stay committed to excellence, and discipline has to be the number one important trait you have. So you have to stay disciplined, stay committed to excellence, and know that it's not going to be easy in any way, shape, and that is actually going to feed into your satisfaction of when you reach the different goals or the different milestones. So,
yes. So what I hear from each and every one of you is, please, woman, be open-minded. You don't have to start as the big one, but just start somewhere. Yeah. So
one more thing. Another small thing that I would say is like, do not be afraid to pivot. If you started in one area, it doesn't mean like you have to stay in that area forever. That area, if you see like opportunities in that area are not what you expected, or maybe they do not align with what you want, you can always pivot. So,
yeah, true. By the way, I didn't also start with AI. I started with mathematics, and then my bachelor's degree was in mathematics, and then my master's now in AI. So you can always pivot. Don't think that you are stuck to this particular place where you started. You can always change. So we can answer 2 questions on the chat, and then, like I said, the conversation can go on, can still continue even after here. I see one question. Winfred says, what are your thoughts on application of AI in agriculture as a mitigation action for climate change solely in Africa? I don't know if Winfred has a particular panelist he would want to answer this question, but whoever has an answer, please, you can go ahead. Let me repeat the question. It says, what are your thoughts on application of AI in agriculture as a mitigation of climate action solely in Africa?
I just quickly want to answer, just very brief, and just to say that I think we should remember that for something to really make an impact, such as climate change, and especially for a country where I come from, Namibia, we experience a lot of drought, and we've been in drought season for the longest time. And I think what really needs to be applied is not just AI solely to really create an impact or create a solution, but it's different technologies, from IoT to big data, to robotics, I think that is the solution. And I think in itself, it's from detecting weather patterns with data, and obviously also monitoring of water, sensory, IoT, because we have a water scarcity. So how do you really make sure that all of these components of technology are put together as a solution? So I don't think it's just AI in itself that can solve such problems, but I think it's different technologies put together to create a solution. I don't think it's answering the question, but I'm just saying that I was also such a blockchain fanatic. Then I realized that it takes a lot of other components to make blockchain really move the needle. It can't work in silos. I hope it somehow answers the question.
Yeah, I think truly there is no maybe a particular sector in AI that stands on its own. It actually branches to many other components that makes it up to for us to call it an application. Yeah, I also agree with what you said, and I hope Winfred's question has been answered. I don't know if any other panelists want to chip in something, or we go ahead. Okay. I don't see any other question. Just maybe I should give opportunity for just one person to unmute and ask your question. Just one person, so that from there we can.
Hi, sorry, Hadiza. There's a question from someone. Wisdom, something around is a law students interested in tech and AI.
Oh my God.
Don't worry, I can help help you. I'll read it out.
Okay, please, thank
So
you.
it says,
Yeah.
hi, my name is Wisdom. I'm Nigerian and also a law student. I'm interested in tech and AI, but I'm currently having issues navigating a career path. Would I have a better advantage if I have a tech skill? And if so, how do I branch out with little or no tech exposure?
Thank you so much, Abimbola. Does anyone want to help us with the answer?
So I haven't looked into the specific program that's there, but I know for a fact, especially if you're a law student, I know the specific area of like responsible AI and like AI ethics, and some like for those ones, like yeah, some of them like have that tech background or whatever, but you don't necessarily have to be coding or having that tech background. You just have to have like a knowledge of how these technologies work and all that, and you can have coming actually from the background of law could actually benefit you a lot if you're trying to go into AI ethics, because you already have like an understanding of the law side of it, and then now you have to just understand like the different intricacies that come up when you're talking about AI, and they're different. If you look there, when you go to Google Scholar and then you search those particular research, the research that is in that specific area, and it doesn't really have that tech element of it. It's not like a heavy tech element to it.
Thank you so much, Mastel. Before Abimbola answers that question as well, please, participants, a feedback form was shared and would be shared again on the chat. Please try and help us fill that form. It would really help the hub to know how better to organize these kinds of events. So please fill the form, and over to you, Abimbola.
Yeah, so very short and quick. Yes, Wisdom, I encourage acquire tech skill. It's very useful, even if you don't intend to, become, a techie and work within the tech space in terms of coding and all that. But I can say to you, in Nigeria specifically, there's a requirement for, legal experts that have a tech understanding. I'm aware that a lot of organizations, a lot of fintechs, a lot of tech, companies are looking for, having either their own legal personnel in-house, or they actually have on a retainer basis some form of legal firm that they're working with. And more often than not, you find out that there's some gaps there. So if you're able to, if you have interest in that space, you're able to get the required certification, you're able to get the required skills, the knowledge and all that. And you come into that space, I believe, as many people that we can have in that, space, the better for the whole ecosystem. So if you have interest in it, please go ahead. And there are quite a lot of legal firms and all that you can, you can work with.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We've spent more time than anticipated. Thank you so much for really staying even more than the time that we've asked of you and sharing wonderful, impactful content with the participants. So at this point, I would be handing over to Ida to close us. Ida, are you on the call?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much, Hadiza. Sorry, Hadiza. It's been quite insightful, even for me, who is a woman in tech. As I say, it's always great listening from people within different perspectives, right? As we continue to build an inclusive Pan-African innovation ecosystem, we continue to bring women together and celebrate their achievements. This has been one of the most amazing panels that we've had so far, and we hope that we can continue to encourage more people and more women to get into tech, and more especially into AI, and taking small steps into the right direction would inspire them to do so, like just having this conversation, which has of course taken longer than expected because it was great, I believe. So I just want to say a great thank you to each and every one of you for taking the time to you, the panelists, and to you, the audience that has been here throughout. I know you've been inspired. And my team has shared LinkedIn profiles for the panelists if you'd like to connect to them. Continue the conversation offline or, well, online, not here, but online, offline. So that we can continue to have this conversation and continue to encourage each other. So my team has requested that we turn on our cameras as we celebrate International Women's Day. We'd like to see the faces of each and every person who has joined us today, and we will take a screenshot and share just to celebrate the amazing strides that we've done. So please turn on your cameras if you're there. Let's smile. Well, I don't see cameras turning on. I don't know if it's me or just people are shy today. Wow, guys, let's turn on our cameras. I can see Grace, Christy, Habiba. Most soon I can see you, Yemi. Let's take a photo, let's smile, let's celebrate each other today. Of course, if you don't want a photo to be taken, you don't have to turn on your camera. As we continue to turn on our cameras, please follow us on social media. At CC Hub, iHub, Design Lab as well. And also please share your feedback. We want to hear from you. We want to see, we want to hear what conversation you want to have next, what topic you want us to explore, and even the experts that you would want to see in the panel next time. So please share with us, panelists as well, please share with us your feedback. We'd really want to hear from you. And also just see, how we can improve on our next edition of the Female Focus. So thank you so much, everyone. I don't know, team, are we good to go or?
Yes, maybe just a few more
Ibrahim.
faces. Maybe a few more faces.
Alice, Zisa, Joyce, AB Ray. I see people, Wisdom. Let's turn on our cameras. Wow, Belinda, amazing. Beauty, great. Thank you so much. Hi. Grace, Wisdom. Thank you, everyone. Ephraim, let us know when, people should smile.
Okay, you guys can smile.
Thank you. Big smiles. Hello. Happy International Women's Day. Happy International Superwoman Day.
And I'm done.
Great.
Thank you.
Superb. Thank you so much, everyone. Again, thank you for being part of this conversation. Please remember to give us your feedback, and also would definitely want to hear from you. So thank you so much and have a great weekend ahead. Happy International Women's Day. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you so much.